Hello everybody, my name is Mark Moon. I run for Team Tekin, and today I just want to kind of show you a package I received in the mail, and also the video is going to be it's a how-to video of how to solder up the new RSX Tekin speed control. So thank y'all for sending me that, and then of course what I did to speed things up, because I don't want to take a whole lot of time. I just want to get to the point and show you how to solder up the RSX Gen 2. And inside the package, I've already went ahead, took the speed control out of the package. It comes with your instructions. It comes with the fan to the speed control, some double-sided tape, a couple of zip ties, and again they give you a few decal sheets. And inside this package was this little adapter, this little pigtail right here. And this pigtail is going to hook up to your hot wire, just like this right here. Here's another one, but it plugs right into the end of it. And what that's going to allow you to do, I'll show you over here without having to hook it up to that one. What it's going to allow you to do is, this is the new RSX speed control. And on the older RSs, if you remember, you had to go over here to the receiver and unplug it from here and then plug it up, and it was really just a pain to keep pulling that in and out. Then they came out with the new RS Gen 2, and see, this is when it really started hitting the thing, is where you could hook this into right here. You could hook it right into those prongs, and then of course this adapter here went right into the hot wire and made life a whole lot easier to program the speed control. But now they've came out with this RSX, and this is actually your fan port right here. And the black wire, if you want to plug it in, you plug it in just like that with a black wire to the outside, just like that, and it goes right down in there. And that's how you would go into your fan port to adjust your speed control. And like I said, I unpackaged this speed control out of this box to speed things up. Nothing is pasted down or bolted down or nothing. I've got it free floating in here. So I want to come back over to the speed control now and show you the differences of what's going on here. If you'll look at the other one, the sensor wire used to hook into the side of this model. It hooks into the side. But on the new one, if you'll look, it hooks into the back of the speed control. So what I did is I went ahead and plugged in the sensor wire. I went ahead and put a piece of double-sided tape on the bottom. I haven't peeled off the backing yet. I went ahead and ran the sensor wire through the shock tower. This is a team associated SC10.2 two-wheel drive short course truck. And then right here, I ran the sensor wire into the sensor wire holder on the motor. I put the screw back in, and then I went ahead and plugged it up, just to sort of speed things up and get along with what's going on here. The object of this video is to show you how to put this stuff in here nice and neat, so when you get to the track, you don't have any troubles. You can go out and have a good day of racing. This is some of the best, in my book, speed controls on the market. Their electronics are great. Their new motors are awesome.
Latest technology.
It's really up the latest technology. It's really good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead now and show you what I've done as far as getting this ready. I want to show you the items I've got laid out. I've got a Team Checkpoint soldering iron. I've already got it up and running. It's hot. I've got the wires that came in the package of the speed control. What we did is we took some wire strippers a while ago, and we just sheathed off a little bit of each wire. And if you want to zoom in and get a good look, we went ahead and took these wires and we put solder on it and coated them. And the reason for that is it's going to make this job a whole lot nicer and neater. And I'm fixing to go ahead now and solder up some things and show you how to do this. But first thing I want to do is go ahead. I've got this speed control. What I did is I ran the speed control wire under the chassis here. There's a channel here, And what I do is I use double-sided tape. Everybody's got their own technique. I'm just showing you mine. I took this double-sided tape, I peeled a piece out like that right there. I snipped it and made it where it could lay over the wire. A lot of people use electrical tape to protect this wire when you lay the battery over it, to keep it from nicking the wire. I use double-sided tape, and I just leave that piece on there. I don't take it off, and it's pretty cushiony, and it gives it protection for the wires. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and peel off this. I've got this double-sided tape on the back of this speed control here. I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. Like I said, I've got my sensor wire already plugged in. That's very important to have that ready to go and ready to plug in. What I've done is I want to set it about that close and press down. That's where you want this speed control in this truck. And then what you can do is, you see these wires are hanging on the side. You want to cram those right down in there nice and neat. And then what I did is I went ahead and took some double-sided tape and went ahead and put my on-off switch right there. Alright, now that that's mounted, we have no wires hooked to it, we have no capacitors or anything hooked to it. In the package, once again, in my hand, is the capacitor that goes on top of this, just like the other one. Just like on this one here, it comes with a capacitor. The blue stripe is your negative. And what I did is I went ahead on this thing. One of these wires, when you get it new, is a little longer than the other wire. I took and cut them off where they're both the same length. So I took the longest one and cut it off with the shortest one, so it's even. Now, what we want to do, like I said, you got your negative on the blue side, and the other side over here is your positive. If you'll look and focus in on the speed control, they've changed the layout of the whole layout of all these connections where you're going to solder is totally different than the RS. You got A, negative, B, positive, C. On the old one you got B negative, B positive, A, B, C. The ABC wires go to the motor, and then the negative over here used to go to your negative side on the battery, and then the positive over here went to the positive side on the battery. Now it's totally different on this one, so pay attention to this. Look at what you're doing. And what I'm going to do is, like I said, the negative side is the blue stripe side, which is this tab. I want to go ahead and solder that right there into that spot. So I'm going to grab some solder, and I'm going to show you the solder that we're using. We're using the Radio Shack. I'm using the Radio Shack 6040 rosin core solder. It's the 0.0332 inch diameter solder, and you get it at any Radio Shack. Now what I'm going to do is come on over. I'm going to show you how we're going to solder this up. You want to wipe your tip off on a wet, damp sponge. Get your sponge, get a good clean tip. You want to take this solder. It's got these slots cut in it. Just want to put enough solder in there like that right there to fill it up, and that's all you want to do. Like I said, the negative side is that blue side right there, just like that. There's your negative side, so you know you're correct. It's in the negative spot. Now I'm going to lean it back down. I'm going to go ahead and solder up the positive side right here. Just like that. Then just lay your sensor wire out of the way and just kind of, just kind of straighten this up. Straighten it up for now, and then what you want to do is you got your C, your B, and your A now in between all these. Now what I'm going to do is, we already took our wires and we went ahead and took our wires and we laid them on the tables. All we did was we stripped them, we laid them on the table, we took the soldering iron and rolled some nice solder to coat that wire like that right there. Now all we got to do is take some solder. This is what I do right here. I'm going to focus in right here. I go ahead and I fill these in with a little bit of solder is what I do, like that right there. Just enough to get it just like that, a little bubble on top. That's all you need. I'm going to start with the far inside one first. Some people like to do them straight up and down like this, and some people like to lay them down like I did my buggy. I laid them down in my buggy because the reason I lay them down is because the buggy's body is lower profile and it sits tighter to the body, so I lay them down in the two-wheel buggy. But on the short course truck, I like to stand them up because the body's taller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the soldering iron, wipe it across the sponge, get it good and clean with no solder on it. I'm going to put just a little bit of solder on the tip again, just enough to coat it. And I've already got the wire coated on C. I'm going to put half the soldering tip to that, and then right here to that, just like this. And there you go. What you want to do is see if it's good and on there. Tug on it a little bit. Make sure it's not going to come off on you. The key to soldering is when you solder something, you want to watch it melt all the way in, not halfway in and then take the iron off. Let it melt all the way into a liquid, and once it turns into a liquid, pull the soldering iron away from it and then let it cool off. That's the biggest problem people make. They don't let it go melt all the way through, and then it's what I call it a cold solder joint, I guess you'd say, and it just comes off in the middle. You're right. All right. I'm gonna get a really good shot so you can see how when we solder this joint, we're gonna solder the letter A, which is this one right here. The very end pole is A. I've got the solder in my hand. I got the iron in my hand. I want you to really see how this solder melts it, and then when I let it go. So we've already got our wire coated with solder. I'm gonna wipe it on the sponge to get a good clean tip. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little dab right here, like that right there. That little dab of solder. It helps activate it somehow. Just hold it about this far up the wire. Set it right on top, solder to solder, right there, right on top. Half the iron on the pole, half the iron on the wire. Watch it melt. About 3 seconds. That's all it takes. Boom. Now, tug on these wires, not hard. Don't rip the speed control out. You know, don't hurt the circuit board, but tug on it just a little bit like that. Make sure everything is. Move it back and forth. Make sure it ain't going to come off. And that's when you see it melt all the way through on the pole and the thing. It's there. Then pull the iron away. Let the liquid. You'll see it turn from a shiny, like chrome, back to like a duller chrome, and then it's dry. It's done. Now if you'll come focus in, I want to show you what we did. Just kind of refresh over what we did. This is our A, this is our B, and this is our C. And in between, if you'll look, I've already got these pre-soldered up. These actual pins, Tekin makes these pins here, but you can get pins that are two different styles. I learned a valuable lesson on these pins. It cost me a pretty good race I was in, and I want to show you the difference in these pins real quick versus what you don't want to use and what you do want to use. These are the ones you want. If you look right here, I'll unplug the one out of the chargers, and I'll show you side by side what I'm talking about. you'll come real close with the camera. These are the kind you want right here, and these are like a barrel style. They swivel on it like that, and after time they lose connection, and then you got electrical problems. You don't know if it's a sensor wire. You don't know what's going on. It'll drive you insane. Eliminate your problems. Get this style. They have like a little notch cut in the top of them. I know they're soldered up and you can't see, but what you do is you strip back about, you know, probably 3/16 off your wire. Lay your wire down in those notches. Put what I do, a trick that I do, I use these. These are the best thing ever. This is not the cutter part, but you can the crimper part. You can set it down in there like this right here, and look how it holds it for you. It's like a jig. And it won't cut it. You just let the spring of this hold it like that. And what you do is you hold your wire right there, and you get your solder. You get your solder and you just fill that up until it's real smooth on top. Hold it, let it dry like I told you. Make sure it's all the way through, and then comes back out. And do both of them just like that. And then of course just strip about that much off the other end right there. I took this off of my RS speed control. I took the negative off this side and the positive off this side. I'm going to use them because I already know that they're right for this truck. And what you want to do is you want to set your battery in your truck, and then grab some new wire and figure out if you're going to put your post up here or back here. I always run my post on the short course to the back. So what I do is I've measured them to where you can just plug them right into the battery. That's just preference, where you want it. Okay, but now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let you see me solder these up right here. And what I like to do is, even though these already have a little bit of solder on them, I want to recoat them with just a little bit of solder. I'm going to show you. Just put the iron right here. Put just a little bit of solder. See how it turns solid chrome from wet to dry. You'll see it a whole lot better when you're doing it yourself. It's just make sure it gets some fresh solder on these edges here, just like that. And then that's it. That's a little coat of it. And then, like I said, we've already put a coat of solder on top of each of those. And what I like to do is I like to go ahead and put my foam pad in. Like this is the way I run mine. You know, everybody runs them different. This is the way I run mine, but I like to get a battery, and I like to get a battery that I'm going to use in a race situation. I put the battery in just like I'm getting ready to race, and then what I'll do is just put this strap on it. Get it like you're going to race it, and there we go. This is, and you can see that's where they are. This is the negative and this is the positive on this battery post. It's important to know because some batteries are different. I'm going to go ahead and solder up this negative right quick. And what I'll do is I'll plug it in right here like that, just like I'm ready to race it. And you can zoom in just like I'm holding it right there. I'm going to wipe the sponge off like I've been telling you. Put just a dab on the tip again, just a dab on the tip of that right there. Not much, just a little bit like that. I'm going to come in right here. Once again, I'm going to put half of it up on the post and half of it up on the wire. I'm going to get to the side where I can see it. Let me get just a little bit more solder on this thing, just a little bit more. I'm trying to keep my head back and do it where you can see it, and it's hard to do, so I'm going to stick my head in the way just for a second to make sure I get my iron where I need it. Alright, right there, half and half, it turned to a liquid. I'm letting go, I'm holding it, and there it is. Yep, there it is, right there. Now I'm going to unplug it because I don't want it plugged up anymore. Now, I'm going to stick the positive one on. I'm I'm just going to put just a little bit more solder on top of that peg. You want it to be just a shiny, look like a shiny ball of solder. It helps you when you get ready to join them. I'm going to wipe this off again. I'm going to put just a little bit on the tip, about like that right there. I'm going to go ahead and plug this into the positive side, just like I would if I was going to be racing it. That way it forms to the way you're holding it to the back. You know, it's going to go in nicer. I'm going to move this sensor wire out of the way just for a second right there. So you can see this go on. Pretty tight in here, but you can do it. It's not hard. Hold the tip right there and get it started. Alright, the whole thing. Watch it as you're melting it. Make sure the solder melts all the way up the wire and all the way on that post, and then when it's all wet, then take the solder iron away, let it bond together. That's how you get a good solder job on your car. Now that we got our negative and our positive wire hooked up, I'm going to just drop them just like this. I'm going to grab the wires that go back to the motor, these three right here. Now these are out of the way, they're up here like that right there. I run mine through this part of the transmission, right, the shock tower, right here. I do it on the B4.2 and the SC10.2. Run them right up through here, just like that. And see, I'm not putting a lot of stress on the speed control wires. I actually want a little bit of slack on those, because what I like to do is I like to take a zip tie, and if you'll look in the package where the fan is, Tekin gives you 2 of these zip ties with the package. I'm going to pull them out. I guess there'll be like a 4-inch zip tie or something like that, just a small one. I like to go ahead and take a zip tie and zip tie my wires just like that. I love these body scissors. You can get right down on the edge of it right here just like this. Snip it off. I didn't zip it real tight, just something to hold it there. And then what I do is, if you'll look on that, I go right up under here, under the body thing. Right up under here, and I bring those wires through right there. Just like this. And look how nice and uniform all these wires are starting to lay. It's just when you take your time and do it the right way, it makes a difference. Nice and neat. What you want to do now is you got your white wire as your A. I've got my red wire soldered to the B, and then I've got my black wire to the letter C. And what I do, I get a Sharpie. I just take an old Sharpie. This helps a lot. And I just sort of hold my wires where I want them to lay, and this is going to be the end of it. I'm going to cut it right there. Then I'm going to lay this one right next to it like that. I'm going to cut it like right there. I'm going to lay this next one right here. I'm going to cut it right there. Then I take these cutters right here, wire strippers, cut it right on that line. Right on the line I drew with that marker. Alright, then I take and strip this much wire off of each one. Just like that. Don't use a knife. Get you a set of good strippers. It's going to make a difference on the way your stuff looks. Take and just do all three the same way. This is where I'm going to coat the wires again. And you'll get to see me coat the wires just like I did over here. Just going to take the solder and put it right on the very end of the wire. Just like this. See how it just puts a lot of solder right up in the wires? Just like that. If you do it on the end, it'll soak it up into the wires. Trying to get to that white wire now. Just have to try to push it out of the way like that for a minute. Put your solder the tip right on that end and feed it right into it just like this. Just like that. Now what we're going to do is use some pliers so you can get in there. Pull these out of your way just for a second like that so you can get to your motor tabs. On these Tekin motors they do a good job labeling them A, B, and C. It's pretty self-explanatory. Double check white wire on this one is A, so I'm going to start with it. I'm going to put just a little bit of solder right here. Just a little bit. A little bit of solder on this one. And then a little bit on this one. Just like that. This is where I think you need to use needle nose because you're so close to where you're going to be. Hold the sheathing on the wire where the sheathing of the wire ends right here, if you want to focus in. Right there, that sheathing, right where I'm touching it. Let it hang right off the edge of that tab. So only the wire is touching. The sheathing's not over top of that tab. It'll lay flatter if you do that. Just take it and do just like this. Back it up to right there and hold it with these pliers. And then again, always put solder on the tip. It makes a huge difference. And just watch it melt it right into it now. Make sure it all turns that color I was telling you about, like that right there, and then watch it dry. Just dry. The red one is B. And once again, make sure it goes all the way into that color like that right there. Then do your last one. Barely grab it like that right there. If you want, it helps to heat that up first and drop it on it. You learn your own technique on soldering. And then right there, let it dry. See how nice and uniform those wires look when you solder them up. Take your time and do it. Just take your time. And since we pre-done this, see how uniform when you wrap that around, how your battery hooks in. See how it just naturally flows with it. With these wires being up here and the truck bouncing up and down like that, it's not going to come down and hit that mode button or any of these buttons and try to rebind or do anything. It's just keeps everything nice and uniform. Keeps it from looking so bad. I took a piece of double-sided tape and I cut it the width of the barrel of this capacitor, because when the truck's bouncing off the heavy jumps, I don't want that wire to keep flexing and break the wire. And what I want to do is put a little piece of double-sided tape right up under here like that. Go up under it and push it to the bottom of that barrel right there. Just rub it on there. I want to take and cut that excess off and re-stick that back on like that, and then peel that sheathing off so it'll stick. Just bear with me until I get this Alright, I got it off. And then what I want to do is, if you'll look, I want to let it rest on that part of the chassis. So I just want to ease it down right there and let it stick right there. Just like that. That way it's stuck to that plastic. When the car comes off the jumps, that thing's not going up and down and break the capacitor. And that's what we don't want to happen. And of course, you'll zoom in right here. You want to make sure that that wire right there don't touch that pole. That's why I got it coming, coming over here. And that's why I'm also taping it to keep it from moving. I want to tape that right there, just like that. Now you see that it's all put in now, just like that. If you'll notice, my receiver is not attached. And the reason I've done that is now I want to show you on the SC10 what I do for weights. Has nothing to do with the speed control. This is my preference, what I do on my truck. And if you'll look right here, I'm going to shove the weights over here. I want to show you the different kind of 1/4 ounce weights they make, and there's so many different ones. But I'll show you the ones I like on this truck. If you'll come zoom in on these weights real quick. I have no idea the manufacturers of these weights. But these are my absolute favorite 1/4 ounce weights. I have no idea who makes them. They're not these. These look similar. But these are about the same size. So I sort of like these too. But look how big this one is. This is a... I know these are lead, true lead. This is probably like a steel or something or whatever. But look how big it is. It takes up too much room. And then they make this style, which is a little bit bigger than this one. And then of course J Concepts also makes lead weights also. But this is something a friend of mine, Max Fluer, showed me at a race a couple of years back. What he does, I went ahead and put the double-sided tape on there to help speed things up. But this is what he does. He takes and puts 1 ounce of weight, 1 full ounce of weight under the receiver. And I'll show you why I like those lead weights right there the best. For this situation. Alright, I've already got them cleaned up. I got one set cleaned up for you, and the other set still got like the old double-sided tape on it. I got these from like an airplane show. My dad flies RC planes. A guy had a bunch of weights in a box, $5. I bought them, and you can always use them on RC cars. But I want to show you real quick an easy way of getting that stuff off without sitting there rolling it off with your fingers. What I do is I take motor spray. It can be AutoZone kind or this CRC kind, either one. I've got a can already laid out right here. I'm just going to pick one. It doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to take a towel, any old towel, lay it on the table just like this, and then take a motor spray and just spray a little tunnel of it right there, like that, right there. And then come over here with the camera. I'll show you how good this takes it off. Just lay that old sticky stuff on there like that. Just rub it real hard over that right there, just like that. Do it one more time. It instantly eats that off. Hardly any work to it at all. That's how quick that is. Alright, now back to the receiver. Like I said, look at the different size weights. These weights right here on this Airtronics receiver, this is a model number 92624 receiver. Try different weights for your receiver. Different receivers, different sizes. If you'll look, this is perfect. Lay that one there. Lay that one there. Perfect size. And you're wondering, why am I putting lead weights under my receiver? You ought to feel the weight of that receiver versus the weight of that speed control. It balances this truck out on both sides when you do this. You're trying to equal the weight of the truck. So this is going to equalize The same amount of weight as that is over here now, and that's going to balance the truck out. It's going to jump a little bit better for you. Now, the reason I didn't bolt it down, there's a reason I didn't bolt this down, is because the wire that comes off this receiver, if you'll look how uniform this wire is, I can move it now to where it's equal with that speed control and keep everything balanced. So I went ahead, I want to go ahead and turn this back up like this. Take a piece of double-side tape, lay it right in the middle. Just like that. Cut it off and use that right here to get it started. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, if you want to get right over top of it and just eyeball it. Make it look good. Make it look even. Stick it right there, even with it. Press down, just like that. Now you got a good flow. Everything looks good. Unplug this. You don't want to leave batteries plugged up. We're just doing that to get everything lined up. We're using it for alignment. Pull the battery out. Got that piece of laying over it for protecting it. And in my truck, I run 4 1/4 ounce weights, 2 rows deep, and then I put 2 1/2 ounces on there. That's a total of 3 ounces. Then another 1/4 in the triangles. Then the ballast weight, I use a 3-degree toe block. And now we got the weight of it level. We can go ahead now. We go ahead and plug up our servo. And if you'll come right here with the camera, just figure out on your receiver where everything goes. My steering goes on ST on this receiver. I just push down on that, stick that in there, and then I've got my MyLapse transponder. I use Velcro. I set it right here just like that. Stick it in just like that. Now I've got my all my electronics are hooked up. Now it's time to go to the hot wire, and we can take just a small break and come right back, and I'll show you how to set it up on the hot wire, and we're done. Okay, we're back, and a while ago we cut the film, and now we're back. We're going to show you how we hook the hot wire up, how we bind it to the radio. I'm using an Airtronics 92624 receiver, and I'm using an Airtronics M11 radio. Now, each radio is different. Go to your manual, figure out. In a minute, I'm going to show you how to do all these. Each radio is different, but they're pretty much the same once you get in the settings. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to get the cameraman. We've loaded everything up on a big screen TV. We're going to go through all 4 windows of the dashboard on the Tekin, and I'm going to show you my preference on what I run at just about every track here in Georgia on the SC10.2. So, okay, everybody, what we're going to do is I'm going to let you zoom in on the screens. I'm going to give you about 4 seconds on each screen, and you can pause this at any time on your, on your computer if you want to go back and look at these settings for yourself. And like I said, this is the dashboard. Here's your setup. You can see we're running 2-cell, brushless LiPo forward only. I'm running 6 volts on the servo. Now I'm going to go to the next screen. This is your brake adjustments. I run about 3 drag brake on a heavy short course truck. And you can look at the settings right here. On the throttle, you can tell the neutral whip's on 5, current limiter's on 80, reverse speed's off because we're not using any reverse. There's no reverse in racing. And now we'll go to your throttle. I'm sorry, your timing. And you can see that I'm on a custom profile 2. I'm in sensor only. That little check box in the middle is on sensor only. I leave the 5443 on the start RPMs and the 2016s on the end RPM at the factory setting. The turbo delay is basically, I'm just leaving it at 0.04. I usually run about 0.02. The turbo ramp is only going to be a factor if you're running pretty much stock or using turbo. And that's how hard your turbo will kick in. But there's no turbo, so really it's useless in this situation. Here's the curves. The throttle curves is what, this is the throttle curves page, and as you can see I've got a little bit of a bend in mine. I want my throttle to come on smooth and then come on out real, go in smooth and come out instead of being so aggressive. And now back to the dashboard one more time, and this is how I set my particular truck up. Okay, there's one more step that I had forgot to tell you about. It's not a big deal. All you got to do is when we had the big monitor up a while ago, and it had the hot wire pulled up. If you look on the bottom right corner area, it'll say Apply Settings. Click the Apply Settings button. Once you've got all the settings like I showed you on the big monitor a while ago set, apply the settings. It'll say another window will pop up. It'll have like a thing to tell you what to do, and then you hit OK on that, and then just wait. The screen will tell you what to do, and it'll say OK, these settings are saved. And then I'm going to go on right now and show you how to mode that and bind that to your radio. Okay, we're back. We just showed you on the TV here in the monitor how we went through each settings and the way I've got it set. Now I'm going to show you, as the camera comes closer towards the speed control, I'm going to show you the next step. Number one rule: never have these batteries plugged, have these wires plugged into the battery when you are using the Tekin hot wire. That just, you don't want to run all that power through that thing. Let the battery off the, just don't do that. Alright, so unplug it. If you'll notice, black wire is to the outside. I'm going to drop it. We don't need it anymore. We're going to go ahead now, plug the negative into the negative. If you use Dean's pins, you don't have to worry about this. Make sure you plug positive into positive. Go ahead, have your radio turned on. Radio's turned on. Then come back to the speed control, and we're going to turn it on. We're going to power it up. Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm going to let you look into my radio as close as possible. It could be blurry, but I will talk it out. What we want to do is you want to go to your model. I'm running a short course truck on the model, so I've got it on the right model, short course truck. Then come over to your EPA. EPA, your throttle's on 100. And my brakes are on 80. But make sure your steering is lined up. Make sure your EPA is on 100 on the throttle, and your brake is on 100. So we need to change that to 100. Right there. I've got 100 throttle, 100 brake. Now it's time to mode it. As you look down, I'm going to hold the radio, and I'm going to show you how to mode this all at one time. What we're going to do, with the steering on the truck straight on your steering trim and your throttle and your brake on 100, I'm going to hold this mode button down. It says it right here on the speed control. I'm going to hold it down. I want you to listen to the chimes. Do not touch the radio. Then pull full throttle. Then push full brake. Then let off. It's bound. We have what we wanted. Now it's bound. It's ready to race. But I'm telling you that I run 80% brake, and I'm going to move that back to 80, and I'm going to go put my tires on the body, and we're going to. I hope this video helps you, and thank you for buying Tekin products. I think you'll really enjoy the Tekin products. If you put them in your car, you're going to really like them. Thank you. I'm Mark Moon.